Yeah, I know. Hey, I know. Hey, you was back. You with the heart last night. I heard you too. Yeah. Yes, I'm back. It has been a while, and today this is actually something I've never done on my channel before. It's an interview with a professional filmmaker, a professional director, Sylas Dall, which I, had the pleasure to conduct. And I really enjoyed talking to Sylas in this video. I learned a lot of things. I gained a lot of knowledge. However, this interview was recorded one. Okay, it was two. Okay, three months ago. Yes, I know. I know. It was recorded 3 months ago, and I got very busy. I'm in film school myself. Things got hectic. It got a little crazy out here. I mean, I'm not just talking about the normal world falling apart chaos. It got college student falling apart chaos. I really did feel bad that I never uploaded this. I never got around to actually editing it in the first place, and that is unfortunate. However, I hope that I'm forgiven because there is a lot to gain from this interview. Sylas is just really fun to talk. He was really fun to talk to. There was a lot of knowledgeable things that he talked about from a filmmaker's perspective in general. So if you're interested in something like that, I think that you'll be interested in something like this. So without anything else to say, sit back, relax, and I hope you guys enjoy this. Let me know if you would like to see more interviews in the future. If I can even get some interviews that are actually uploaded on time. Not three months later. One last thing that I will say is that Sylas' film, They Reach, is now out. It is available on Amazon Prime for streaming, and I'm just going to show a little bit of the trailer here so you're acquainted with the movie that he made before we get into the interview.
So, I found some cool stuff.
Why are you into that? Most girls collect dolls.
Dad, I'm 13.
I like the potato light idea. It's like classic science fair. Maybe we need to step it up a notch. I mean, if we are going for grand champs...
Don't stress it. I'm already on it.
Wow.
We're making the Death Star.
Yeah, you weren't kidding.
Watch this. How do we kill it?
You can't.
Is this thing ever gonna stop?
It won't stop. It's building power.
What's up, everyone? Today I'm actually doing something that I've never done before on my channel, which is an interview with an actual professional director, film director. I'm here right now with Sylas Dall, director of a film that I actually made a video on last year this time, They Reach. I actually did a reaction to the trailer, a small little horror movie, horror sci-fi, and yeah, he reached out to me like a few weeks ago, said that he'd love to have me do an interview with him, and here we are. So how's it going, man?
It's going well. We've been doing this like a PR campaign thing leading up to our release, and I remember my producer Bry Troyer and one of our other associate producers, we were looking at your review, and I was like, man, this guy's awesome. Like, I gotta get a hold of this guy, like, because you were hitting all the like correct points that we were trying to make. And you didn't even see the movie yet. You were like just basing it off of like a trailer and like doing your own research and stuff, and that's what I was like impressed by. Yeah.
I love I love sci-fi. I love movies just like They Reach. So as far as the journey of They Reach, talk about that a little bit. I did do a little bit of reading. I did see that I believe it was a short film at first, and that it won a couple of awards. So as far as it getting picked up and you deciding to go with it as a full-fledged film, how did that all work out?
I didn't go to film school, even though I would have loved to. I went to the Art Institute for a little bit for graphic design, because I started as a comic book artist. So it kind of mushed its way into comic book artist to storyboards, and like then I started doing. I've always been to into film making or I just called making movies with my buddies, like like in the backyard with my friends, and then it like, you know, morphed into something larger. But I always did like these short films and stuff, and never did anything. I never submitted them to any festivals or anything like that. Just like a bunch of home movies of us just goofing around, being stupid, and I decided one day I decided to like enter it in to a festival, and it was like this it was the same, it was called the same thing, it was called They Reach, which is like kind of funny. But so it was it was a trailer on a fake movie called They Reach that I had not made, and I was like, maybe I could make a cool trailer and see if anybody likes it and submit it as like a short, you know. So it was like 2 to 4 minutes long or something like that. And I went to in Bellingham. There's a festival called Bleedingham, and I entered it there, and it like it didn't do like amazing, but it stirred up the crowd, and it was received really well. And I got I think like third place, like third scariest film or something. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I got like an award, you know, like I've never ever had that in my life, like for, you know, especially for filmmaking, because it was like a hobby. And so I people were asking me like, hey, you gonna make this into something? I'm like, I don't know, maybe. So I decided to write a full like feature script that took me about like 3 months. And then in between those 3 months I submitted two more short films into some 48-hour like horror film festivals in Seattle. And these were just like short film festivals, and those other two won awards. And so I was like, I was feeling like I was on like a groove, you know. I was like, all right, I feel like this is like a sign. I should definitely push this direction. And yeah, you know, I'm like, this feels good. Like I feel like, you know, we can do something. You know, I just got my friends together and people that were like felt like they were gonna be like committed to the film. And then I wrote the script. It wasn't really a script either. Like you'll hear me say like in other interviews, it's like a stack of like paper, not script format or anything, like nothing. Because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't go to school for that. I just wrote a book pretty much on Word.
Yeah, it's funny because actually I had a question that I was going to ask you already written down about like the method of writing the screenplay, because I saw that you did, you know, you obviously created the film, the idea, you wrote it, and I was going to ask you like, what's your method with writing screenplays? How did it go? You didn't write it as like a typical
No way. It was like straight like a novel. Like it was just like a straight up Goosebumps book. Like I just wrote it like a book, and I was like, and then so and so says, and then what they said, and it was single spaced. It was like, I don't know, it was like a lot of, I can't remember. It was like over 100 pages, single spaced, which is, if you put it in a script format, it's like way too long for a movie. And I gave that to our executive producer, which was Jason Connolly. And ironically, I met Jason at that 48-hour horror film festival, that short film festival in Seattle, which is just like, you know, like it was weird how the puzzle pieces fell together, you know. And you know, he's like, hey, what are you working on? And I was like, it's just this stupid script, you know. And he goes, hey, let me read it. I'm like, all right. So I gave it to him, and he's like, I think this has legs. I think this is awesome. You know, I think this can go somewhere. I'm like, all right, you know, I'm having a meeting I rented out this like conference hall at the Marriott Hotel, like, you know, trying to be all professional and shit. I was like, I'm gonna rent a freaking room out in a conference thing. Yeah. And all these people came there, and it was like 20 people. Like half of them were just my buddies. And other people were somewhat interested in the community, and I gave my spiel, and I gave them my lookbook, and I was like, here's the script. And after that, Jason introduced me to probably one of the biggest contributors and one of my mentors, Bry Troyer, which was a script consultant at the time, and he was actually in the business. Like that's what he did for a living. And that's where stuff like started to pick up pace, because I had Jason, you know, with that like you can do it attitude, and then I had Bry that he just introduced me to that is like he knows how to format scripts, he knows what how to structure scripts properly, like between the acts and like character arcs and all this shit I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I just watch a lot of movies, and I just accidentally put it in there just because I felt like that's the natural way that it should be structured.
Mhm.
But he was like, no, this is what it's called, and this is
Yeah.
this is what like this character's like, this is what the turning point right here is going to be. And like I was like, what? Like
Yeah. Give you like the structure. Help you-
yeah.
Right.
And it was really helpful, and I just tried to soak up all that knowledge after he gave me back all these notes. He gave me like 15 or 20 pages back of notes on the script. And then I asked Bry to just, if he wanted to do a page one rewrite and just kind of keep the backbone kind of, but like restructure things and like, like create new characters and make it a little bit more like a more kid friendly, fun adventure. Cause I was trying to do that in the beginning, but my first initial script was like super dark. It was like really creepy and dark. And then working together, I told him what I was really trying to do, and then he helped me like find my voice, I guess, a little bit more.
Okay, that's all really cool because I'll be talking to a lot of people, a lot of film friends or just random friends sometimes, and it's you really don't need to go to film school. In my opinion, I think it depends obviously what route you go.
Right. Everyone has their own path. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously like me right now, I'm in film school, but I feel like if you really want something, you don't have to go through, the normal brick and mortar like route. Like you can, do it the way you're doing it, like make films, meet people, talk to people. So it's really like honestly inspiring to hear something like that.
Oh, thanks, dude. Yeah, it's a rough the way it's really rough the way journey. It took me too long for one. I'm like 34, so it's kind of sucky. I wish I would have started like decade ago.
It's never too late.
Yeah. So it's like, it just took. I just had to go through a lot of shit to get to where right here. But if I could do it over, I would probably go to film school, meet friends, like colleagues that would become friends, and then like find a team that I mesh well with. Learn as much technology. This technology's it's going so quick, so fast. Like if you just have a film school that like teaches you even the basics of like working hands-on on camera equipment and everything else, that's like the script structure and stuff. I just had to learn it just on the fly with mentors that I attached to the film. So this film was a lot of my film school.
Right. Yeah. And that's really cool actually. So I wanted to go back to Bay Reach a little bit. So it's a film about this group of kids. They come across this super dangerous piece of junk that they didn't even realize was as dangerous as it was, and then it just ends up bringing a bunch of darkness into their town. But one thing that's really like noticeable about it that I talked about when the trailer came out last year was that it's set in the 80s or late 70s, and it's got this whole nostalgia feel to it, kind of Stranger Things vibes going on, other vibes. And I love stuff like that, and that's actually stuff that I also have been working on, and since I was younger, and I want to work on as well in the future. But like as far as like did you ever grow up, was there any instances that you can talk about where it was like, I don't know, some weird stuff going on where you had adventuring moments with friends, or there was any sci-fi type, like you thought there was stuff going on, anything that kind of relates to the movie?
Oh yeah, man. Like when I was younger, I was in like, so my both my parents worked, and I was in a daycare for forever, and my daycare friends, like I'm still friends with them like to this day. They're like my closest friends. Like all the way back to when I was like 2 or 3, and like I'm about to go say hi to one of them in just a little bit actually. But yeah, that whole group of friends, we used to go on adventures all the time. We used to like get on our bikes and go across the street to these woods and we'd like build. That's where we built like these forts and stuff, and we would use our imagination like constantly, like building like jumps, ramps, like swings, like tons of stuff. Just that's what it was about. Like when I was growing up, we didn't have like so much so now where my kids like they got like technology and like iPads and
Your
the video.
PlayStation was the playground.
Yeah, it's like video games are like insane now, and I'm not gonna knock on video games because I work for a video game company right now. But, um, I love video games. Like I'll be on like freaking Apex and Warzone all the time. So, yeah, so, um, it's a different. It was just a different thing growing up for me, and
Would you say you prefer, like, do you miss the 80s a little bit more? Or really, I guess the 80s or the 90s?
90s, yeah. It was yeah, 'cause I was born in 86, so like I was like 90s was my jam. So I was like I was in the 90s hard, and it was just so different. I just remember like only rainy days we would be able to play like Mortal Kombat, like like Sega and stuff, and um it wasn't like okay, like let's constantly play video games. We were outside all the time, and we were bummed when it rained. We were like, ah, shit, like this sucks. We can't go out and like play and stuff. And so I think it being having that as like a backbone, and like watching movies like I said, like Goonies, and like like I was watching like Big Trouble Little China and like all these adventures, like crazy movies that it's just I was watching like X-Men, like the cartoon like the original cartoon X-Men, like, and you were like watching all these, I was reading comic books, and I was wishing I was a superhero, and just watch like Power Rangers and stuff, and like we just watch all this stuff, and we would always pretend. So I think that was part of my youth, of like just having that adventurous cycle go through my brain. I was like, man, I love this, like I want to bring this back. And when I started writing this, it was like 2015 or something, like 2016, I think. That's when the first Stranger Things season came out. And I was like, oh, I love this freaking show. This is awesome. And I was just waiting for something like that to come out. And it was just, I wanted that. That's what I was looking for, is that Goonies vibe, and that adventures where like you separate the kids from the adults, and you have to deal with it on your own.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's kind of like what I was looking for They Reach was, Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, like kind of, Scooby Dooey a little bit, but like I wanted to put some creepy stuff in there. So
Yeah, you mentioned that the first, script that you had was very dark, and
yeah,
like had like, a lot more horror. Like so, and I mean, it was pretty obvious for me to tell that you're really into horror and sci-fi, which is also stuff that I'm really into.
Mhm.
So, what would you say is your personal connection with like horror and sci-fi?
Like that movie Super 8 is like one of my favorite. Yeah, it's like it's shot. This is like a perfect.
Wanting to rewatch that this time.
Oh yeah,
like, I love it.
it's like it's like one of the it's a really good movie. It's like but something like with that alien sci-fi, like also creepy horror. I mean, like that stems from my parents like introducing me to stuff like that when I was at a pretty young age. They were like, this is here's The Fog, and I was like younger, and I was like, well, this is creepy, but it's like not like too gory,
Yeah.
but it's it just has that momentum that's like the slow burn. It's like this is like the fog's coming, and it's just super creepy. And mainly my mom like introduced me to all these different sci-fi and horror films, like Close Encounters from the Third Kind, and later when I was a little bit older, The Thing, John Carpenter's Thing. And so I think it stems from like I was just really fortunate from the way that my parents introduced me to specific things in a specific order, I guess.
Yeah. So basically, your parents are the reason you're so
Right. I mean, that's like that has to be. I think that has to be it.
Yeah. So actually, as far as like back to the whole when it was set,
Yeah.
They Reach, and how it's set in like a nostalgic period in the past. I'm actually really interested to find out how it went with like funding and world building and stuff, because obviously all the cars are like these old cars, and the wardrobe is, you know, obviously clothes that people would wear in like the 80s. So how did that work?
That was probably one of the biggest challenges you could write in a first time feature with zero budget.
Oh yeah.
And Bry, co-writer, producer, he was like, he's like, I don't know if we. First of all, does it have to be set in this era? When he read the script, and I was
You're
like,
yes, it does.
I'm like, this is gonna make. I'm telling you, this is like this is like a whole character, you know, like. And he's like, dude, he's like, we got no money, and we got like, how are you gonna get all this stuff? I'm like, I got it. Like, I know people, and like I'm really crafty, and like, and I just had that passion, you know. I was like that fire, you know. I was like, we can do it. You just gotta believe in me. We can do it. And then I showed him my lookbook and like, you know, what design. Like I broke down every single character in the movie. I broke down a lookbook for that character of their wardrobe and color palette for their wardrobe and why. So everything was very, very specific.
Yeah.
You know, then I had two or three sets of clothings for the kids, and then the adults, depending on how many scenes or what day it took place in the movie, because I think the movie takes place over like 3 days or something like that. Depending if the adults are like in one day, or if they're in all 3 days, you know. So I broke down all the wardrobe and was very specific on color palette. I actually built the color palette before even the script was done. I was like,
Wow.
here's the color palette. Here's my thought process of like scenes I want to get in there somehow. It's kind of like Ridley Scott does it. Like he works a little backwards like that. Ridley Scott does color palettes and big like these awesome epic shots.
Right.
And he paints them all and they look beautiful and it's like, yeah. So I feel like sometimes I work backwards like that. I'm very visual first, and then sometimes that like stimulates my brain going like, hey, let's write in this scene. I really like had this idea of like this cool shot. Anyways, back to the time period. It was so hard. We had to find so many things on eBay. eBay was our best friend on this thing, and we did a Indiegogo campaign, and I think we got like 15K almost, and most of that went to like smaller props and like smaller kind of wardrobe choices that we had to outsource through eBay. It was really like, it was just, I know where all the thrift stores are in my area and all the like Goodwills and everything, and I was just hunting down old clothing, like looking for every specific color palette of clothing I could find that was in my wheelhouse and that was from that era.
Right.
You know, it was a challenge.
That
it was
sounds, yeah, it does. I mean, it sounds like a challenge, but it also sounds really fun. Honestly, it probably created like a whole.
yeah, it's cool. It's kind of cool where you're creating like a room, like, and you have all these cool toys and like Jessica's bedroom, that teal color, which was, I got the teal color from the bedroom from Super 8 because the main boys, or no, the boy that does all the filmmaking, I can't remember his name, the actual kid that's like wants to be a director, his bedroom is like a teal color, and I was like, I love that teal color. Like, I gotta put it in somebody's bedroom in this movie. I don't know whose. And then we ended up putting in Jessica's bedroom.
So
I painted
for that, did you guys like rent out houses or?
Oh
like,
no, just my friends, man. Like, that was one of my best
you
friends.
Like, get the room?
Yeah. I was like, dude, I need your room for 3 months to shoot out these specific scenes. And I'll probably roughly need it for 3 months. I need to totally change it. I need to paint the walls. And so he let me do that. So
That's crazy. So one thing that I really liked about the movie is I really liked how accurate, you know, it was of a depiction of like middle schoolers. You know, I think in a lot of other movies, sometimes like middle schoolers are just way too aged up. They don't act like middle schoolers. They don't even like high schoolers. They don't act their age or make it a little bit too cringy or something like that. But I don't know. I feel like everybody in the movie, Jessica, Sam, definitely Cheddar was hilarious.
I thought they all like had like this charm to them. Like they did all act like middle schoolers would, especially during that time period. So, was there any like was there ever any like special preparation that went into that or thought? Um, did you guys have like casting directors work with them? How did you guys find the cast, stuff like that?
Like, see, I know for Cheddar, we did about 108 auditions for Cheddar, which was that's there, and there was like 10, I think, online audition tapes sent for us. That was a hard. Cheddar was the hardest person to find, to be honest, because the character was written a specific way. It could be a female or a male. And we were kind of leaning. Brian and I were kind of leaning towards a female, but it was originally we're like, oh, it'll be just a goofy boy. But we wrote it goofy. But when Eden Campbell, she came to audition and she read what the sides we pulled out for her. She read those in a way that made the character not goofy, but like owned her awkwardness, to where like if people thought she was awkward, she wouldn't give a shit. She'd be like, I don't care what you think. And it was it was just this cool vibe. She was like, yeah, she just brought this like cool cat vibe, and I was like, whoa, this is totally different than how we wrote it. Like,
Right.
and I remember it came down to her and two others, and we ended up going with her, and Brian and I went back through the script and like kind of tweaked um all of her dialogue almost to that, like the way that Eden was gonna portray the character, and it worked out way better. It was just like we just got really lucky, you know. And same with Eminem, or Mary Madeline Rowe. She plays Jessica. That's our lead, and she killed it. She did such a phenomenal job at like such a wide range of emotions that she had to do. She had to do like sad, super happy and goofy, like
Yeah.
traumatized and scared. She hits every
A lot of
spectrum.
stuff happened to that kid in that movie, man.
Right, like romantic, stuff, like just everything. She hits everything. It's a really difficult role for a first time lead for her, because this was her first lead role.
Wow.
And Eden's been in a couple things. I think she was in like Z Nation and a couple other things that she had. So she had some stuff under her belt. But I know Eminem, she had some roles, but this was the biggest one that she had, and but we were like, you can do it, and Sam, which was played by Morgan Chandler, he had already like a theatrical background. We just had to tone him down just a little bit because he was playing to the back of the playing to the back of the crowd. But we just toned it because the camera picks up every little slight movement, and so we trickled through the script as we did for most of our characters after we figured out when and who they were. Like we went through the script and we kind of like tweaked the script a little bit, and I think that helps as well to like make your characters like feel like who you cast a little bit. Like Morgan, he was great. He was like kind of like that shy but goofy kid that loved to hang out with these two, and had a crush on Jessica in the movie, and it was a fun little trio that they became really good friends like very quickly on set, and it was really fun to see the characters like come to life, when you write that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. They were all really good, honestly. Yeah, so actually, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the movie because I mean it's not out yet in the States, but as far as like the ending goes, is there a way to imply to the audience the fact that that recorder or that this entire story is possibly like based around also time travel?
I do love myself some sci-fi time travel movies a lot. In fact, it's one of my short scripts I'm working on. It could be kind of like multiverse a little bit. I don't know. It's like Brian and I've talked about writing a sequel,
Right.
which would be kind of fun, and to see where it goes, and we've already had like these really fun ideas of like where specific characters could go and stuff, without giving too much away. But um, I think that the whole goal, yeah, definitely was to kind of leave you in suspense a little bit, like, wait, what happened? Like, because in the back of our heads, I'm like, we could write another one. We could continue this in a specific way that maybe we can like go into obviously more in depth of like what happened, and there'd be like more research, and like it would be set in like the late 80s.
I think horror and comedy is like a great mix. 'Cause,
Yeah.
one of my favorite movie is actually like 2017's It.
Yeah.
Movie, and obviously it was known like when it first came out for just being hilarious.
It smell like caca to me, senor. Okay, I can smell that from here. It's probably just your breath wafting back into your face. Have you ever heard of a staph infection? Also, a staph infection.
And there was quite a few scenes in this movie that I was like, I definitely think they were going for something comedic there. Were any of some of the scenes like improv?
Yeah, there's like, I always like, if we always have like a direction where we're going with the script, but if it goes off script, I am always for that. Like, I love it. I did improv when I was in college, and I think sometimes like when someone embodies that character, it can take it into a totally fun and different direction, as long as it's like going in that direction that you're wanting it to go in. Like, you're kind of like, if you're the director, you're kind of guiding it still. But obviously if they're going way off the script and they're talking about something completely different and they're just eating the scenery, then you gotta stop it. But you know what I mean, like if it's going in that direction, yeah, like you could find some great stuff in improv. Like, there's a lot of improv moments in this movie that I was like, see what you could do with this, and then they just did it. I'm like, that is awesome. We're keeping that.
There's some really nice visuals too, like some really nice scenes. Really like some of the shots where I think she was walking in the gym, and then she's following her duplicate, which I found,
Oh, right.
some of those shots. Did you sort of have that in mind when you wrote the script, or did you like did your cinematographer work alongside with you, feel like, oh, we can do it this way, do it that way, and you went along with it then?
So James Winters was our cinematographer, and he was another one of my mentors on They Reach. We've shot in multiple things together at this point, but They Reach was I think only our second project at the time. And we shot it on, he had like two red cameras that we shot it on, and just a bunch of different lenses. I mean, he had some pretty awesome. We actually shot the 1969 with vintage lenses, and anyway, so he is a master at his craft. He knows all the tricks of the trade. He grew up on the same films that I grew up on. He actually grew up during it, and then I grew up later loving it, and loving those films, and then we just like, when we were talking about the movie, I would show him all my lookbook stuff, and we would talk about our favorite scenes in the movies that we like, like, oh yeah, that scene in E.T. where like Elliot's crossing, and like there's like the sun's beaming through the window, and he's like blown out a little bit because he's like silhouetted, and he's like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, so we would talk about scenes in like Close Encounters. We talk about new movies too, like It and stuff like that, and like talk about like specific ways that these cinematographers did this, and how could we like do it our own way, but like have that nostalgia feel though. Right. Because we still wanted it to, we didn't want to be like a copycat film. We wanted it to have our own voice, but like still feel like it was an old school way of filming, which if you watch E.T. and you watch, they do it a lot. Even in Super 8, the way that they film it it feels like you have nice slow dolly shots, and you're coming in, you're entering a scene, and there's the scene, and it opens up, and then you use like nice, different, like, you like shallow depth of field. You use like you're not always in a wide, like,
yeah.
And you know, we were just discussing this at length, and I think having a key, our vision, the key was our vision to be like having our minds like kind of meld to see what we wanted to see, and I'm very visual, and he's obviously very visual, so you know, a lot of the times we would go on set and we would walk the set. You would you would look at your shot list, and then you would break it down from a top-down perspective on here's our set, and you know, you do a shot list, and then you put the camera here. Here's shot one. Here's our master. Here's our coverages. You know, here's, you know, like some other insert shots we can do, and you would just break it down, because it's really hard to do a storyboard when you're not on set, like actual like seeing, like, oh, like I'm looking, here's like I'm in my living room right now, and like it'd be cool if we put the camera like right here, and we'd like have it, you know, jib this way, and like, you know, reveal our character. Like you can't do that when you're just sitting like drawing a storyboard out and you're not on the set. So like the gym set, like you said, we didn't have access to until the day of, so we took a good hour or two in the morning, like at 6 a.m. or whatever when we showed up, and we walked the whole gym, figured out what list. Yeah, we just get a shot list together. I can draw storyboards like super quickly because I have that comic book experience. So I would just bust out a pad and a pencil and just be like, there it is, you know. And he's like, what do you think? I'm like, and then we'd kind of manipulate it.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask. I noticed this when I was watching the movie. I had written down to ask about the comic They Reach. I saw that in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
So did you yourself, you know, design that hardcover? And if so, like as far as like everything else, is that an actual comic? Did you write something, or is it just there?
We thought about it. Brian and I, because I'm working on the website right now, because as soon as the movie drops, I want our website to be up so we could do like, because we have like t-shirts and like posters and other stuff that we want to like get out there and be like, hey, yeah, it's like just a massive rollout that would help the film, help like cover costs for the website and our production stuff. So I was like, man, like we should do like a comic book. That would be cool. I just don't have time to do it, but I would 100% do a comic book. So we ended up doing is we just did a splash page for that, and it was just like some cheesy, you know, like it was like you know, the whole it was supposed to be the mom in the movie. It was supposed to be Elizabeth's character, and she was, you know, doing the whole hands up with the creature like in the shadows lurking type of thing. And so I thought it'd be kind of meta if we just put like
little Easter eggs.
Yeah. There's so many Easter eggs through there, man. Like the dad works at like S Smart, which is like where Ash works in Evil Dead. Like he works at S Smart. So there's like, I don't even know if you see his name tag that clearly in the movie, but in the special features, like in the behind the scenes and stuff, we show the name tag. And there's so many things like that I try to pay homage to. Yeah, like, you know, Evil Dead was a big one because that's where the reel-to-reel came from. Right. And I was like, man, I gotta get it was a cassette tape player, and then we decided to do a reel-to-reel. Yeah, so, but you know, I got Jay and Silent Bob is kind of like, you know, I used to watch a lot of their stuff, and then Kevin Smith's a big proponent of like indie filmmakers, so I put them in it. You know, like the cops' names are Jay and Silent, or Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith.
Honestly, I mean, I really did enjoy that whole aspect of like that world building. Like I said, like it felt, it did give you everything that you said you're, you know, like trying to accomplish. It did give me sort of that feel.
Thanks.
You know, my thing is I want to direct, and I want to write and direct, and
right.
The same thing you're doing. You create the concept and you direct it as well.
Yeah.
But I'm also always like keeping an open mind. Like I just want to do anything in the film, really. So if it's not those things, or if it's something in addition, I've like thought about, maybe casting director, maybe the person who chooses the music for like a TV show or a movie. And I know that takes a lot of contractual like stuff, like, you know.
Man, contracts are nuts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like that's why That's why I have Bry Troyer, man. He's good. The guy's good.
He's the guy that you had met at the festival.
Jason Connolly is the executive producer of the film, and then he introduced me to Bry Troyer when I did that script, when I did my like first script reading with all those people, and that's when I met him.
It was about like networking.
Yeah, dude, it's all about networking. Like, if I didn't go to those festivals, even though they're like, they're not like massive festivals, but any festival you go to, even if it's like a smaller festival to a large scale festival, the networking power within those festivals are insane. Like, it is worth it so much. If I didn't go to those festivals, I never would have even met half my team that I worked on They Reach. And that was the first step, is to network and to figure out who you want to work with, who do you want to build your film family with, in your community.
Yeah. So what's the next step? I've checked the IMDb. There's nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. Brian and I we're writing. We have one written already. It's like a psychological. Well, it's actually our friend Ann Hartner. She wrote this script that's like amazing, and we're looking to see if we want to go with that script. It's very psychological, dark, or kind of like Hereditary, like really crazy and twisted. And then Brian and I are writing 2 scripts right now. One's a series, and then one is a feature film that's more dark comedy, sci-fi.
Are you guys gonna just whatever works out through networking? Maybe, you never know, like end up on some streaming service, end up with the movie in theaters and stuff like that. Just sky's the limit for you right now.
Yeah, I think like theaters unfortunately right now are not so big, but even before COVID hit, we never had intentions of releasing They Reach in theaters, just because just forewalling the movie is just, you just don't on a film with no, like, technically, there's no names, so you're just gonna lose like 60 grand right off the bat, like, easily. So our budget for this one was pretty. They Reach budget was like super low. It was like it was. I can't say specifically because I know Bry would like kill me, but I can tell you it's below.
That was low, and that you guys were able to pull off everything you pulled off.
Yeah,
it's understandable too from that independent filmmaker like.
I could tell you it was below 180K.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's below that. I could tell you that. But like when people come to us and they're like, "Oh man, this looks like you spent like $500,000 on it, or like $1 million or whatever." I'm like, dude, not even close. It's not even close. And I always like take it as a compliment when people are like comparing us to like Stranger Things or other movies that have like a massive multi-million-dollar budget.
Scenes in there, man, where like towards the end, especially, I think the scene where she's they're using the device and the portal like shows up.
Yeah.
That looks really good. That's some really good VFX. Yeah, definitely. Like, I think horror is definitely the genre for like good budgeting and making a lot like back. Like Blumhouse is big on doing that.
Right. Yeah.
Their movies, they make them on a really cheap budget, and then they always make it back usually. So that's for sure one of the benefits of like horror. So yeah, this was honestly really great. To talk to you, get all these questions and answers. I love They Reach. Definitely, guys, make sure to check it out. It was great having you, man. It was cool.
Yeah, thank you for having me too. It was awesome, and it's great finally like meeting you via FaceTime here.